Hi, this is Kevin Lawler, and you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D.
Welcome once again to Live and in Color with Wolfie D and my man Jimmy across the street. Jimmy, today we got part 2 of the Hall of Fame talk leading up to this big event, the 21st of September in Jackson, Tennessee. Can I have Kevin on again? Because he did such a great job with us last time, listening to his insight and, some of the stuff, obviously he's been around the business longer than I have. So that part of it's kind of pretty cool to me too, to hear some of the stuff, before I ever came around. I didn't have a famous daddy. Man. So we're going to have him on here in a little bit and get going with part 2. And maybe we can finish this up. There's still a lot to go. So we're going to do our best to kind of keep it in our time frame that we like to keep. So, yeah, man, what's going on with Jimmy across the street?
Not much, brother. Just excited. Everybody really responded really well to the first episode. Once again, we thank you all so much for listening and enjoying, especially when Kevin comes on. He's awesome. And he always, like you said, he brings us insight that you and I don't have. And it feels like everybody that you bring up, he's got a story for. So it's awesome to hear all that. And I'm excited to hear, especially this is like the getting into some really big, huge names coming up today. So, I'm excited to hear what he's got to say about them, especially, your Scott Steiners, your Kurt Angles and guys like that. I'm excited to hear about that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned it last week. You tell me if I did or not about the T-shirts are going to be exclusive to the Hall of Fame event. Did I tell you about that?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
So I'm glad you're bringing that up.
I'm working on some PG-13 shirts for the Hall of Fame, specialty there, I guess you'd call it. Exclusive. If I have some left over, I'll sell them online afterwards, but I'm only printing a certain number, and if we sell them at the event, we do. If there's some left over, I will sell them online. But again, it's just another reason, man. We've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, that this is a one and done, I think, for this type of deal. With this, there might be another Hall of Fame induction. I'm not saying there won't be another event, but to have all these guys together at once I don't see it ever happening again. I really don't, for one reason or the other. So, man, if you can make it, and if you can't, I hate it for you.
You got to be there, y'all. So. You got to be there. It's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime event with all those great, people. Seriously, if you're missing an autograph, if you say, man, I just wish I had this. In a lot of cases, probably Jamie, and you can say, hey, man, I can go get my Jamie autograph, or I can go get my Wolfie D autograph. I've never got to get a Wolfie and Jamie autograph together, or, so many different people. And we hate to promise stuff, certain names we don't want to promise, but what I mean by that is this is a good time to, close out your autograph collection and, but that PG shirt, man, that sounds fun. I can't wait to see that, man. I know you're working hard on it. So that's all you've been talking about. So that's very cool.
It'll be cool, man. So, without further ado, let's get Kevin on the phone.
Yeah. Without further ado, let's get Kevin for part 2. Boom. We'll be right back after these messages. See that? I rap like you.
You're rapping now.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the Vehicle Owner's Manual for important feature limitations and information.
Hey folks, to get your official Live It in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
All right, guys, we're back, and here we go again. Hall of Fame. Kevin Lawler is on the phone. We've got him. We're not going to do no great introduction here. Kevin, I love you. Glad you're here. We had a great episode last week. Everybody has talked about it and sent us messages and everything on how good it was. So hopefully it's going to turn into this one, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would say you guys were telling me earlier that I'm still at number 3
Absolutely.
of the all-time most listened to or most watched episodes, and I guess does that mean that Jamie Dundee is still number 1 and number 2?
Yes. That's messed up, ain't it?
Well, yeah, but I mean, heck, we might have to see between now and then, like how my numbers are, because I know that. On September the 21st, Jacksonville, Tennessee, a night to remember. One of the feature presentations that we're going to have that night is this, the rivalry through the ages, Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee tribute, and myself and Jamie will be up there with them as part of that, so we may have to turn this into something about, who's number 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever between now and then.
Who's going to arrive at the building first?
Well, definitely me, because I'm going to be doing. I got a lot of hands-on stuff about the show. I'm going to be one of the behind-the-scenes guys. So
is Jamie going to be there?
I think Jamie will be there because, man, I'm getting messages and interacting with Jamie almost every day. I mean, he just sent me a picture last night of these hubcaps that says like PG-13 2024 that somebody had made.
The ones that I made that I sent to him. Okay.
Oh, he just made like some guy. He just kind of made like some guy made it.
Yeah, exactly. He did make it like some guy. But yeah, I was working on those and I'm not done with them. But yeah, those are mine. I sent those to him last night and he sent me a message back that was a little bit incoherent, but whatever. Yeah.
He was. But I mean, the vibe I'm getting from him. I'm thinking he's going to be there. He's talking about what he's planning on wearing and all this kind of stuff.
What's he going to wear? What's he told you?
He's told me he was going to wear a tuxedo jacket with some PG-13 shorts. I guess maybe I don't know if he meant just like some black, knee length kind of shorts or whatever. And then I told him about the gimmick that we talked about doing with it and everything. And he thought that was awesome. And
well, somebody informed me because I'd like to match a little bit, but I can't get him to talk to me much. So it's few and far between when we talk. But anyway, where we left off last time, Jimmy, you are the co-host and the guy that looks up everything, the guy that listens to everything 1,000 times. I believe that we left off at 2017. We're going into the class of 2018. Am I correct on that?
You are correct, 100%. We had a great conversation, especially about Coco's Brainbuster. That was a good one.
Coco's Brainbuster, man. Ooh.
Yeah.
That killed
Kevin.
I'm glad Kevin's still.
Man, we talk about the class of 2018. I don't even know if you could even count that as a whole class. I think that from best I remember, that was only one person that was in the class of 2018.
I'm on the website, and I don't know who runs it.
Corsica Joe, Sarah Lee. No, I'm just kidding.
.com. This is not Facebook. This is Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame.com. I don't know who runs it. But in 2018, the 4th induction ceremony of the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame occurred at Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill. April 16th, 2018 was Mick Foley.
Yeah, I remember him, but is he the only person listed for 2018? Does it have nobody else?
Nope, nobody else, just him.
No, I guess that's how we talked about last time. For some reason, I couldn't remember if Lance and Dave somehow was part of that one or if they was part of the 2017. But I guess they were the 2017.
I mean, they could have been there. Who knows?
So I guess if Mick Foley is like the only guy in that whole class, does that make him like the valedictorian of the Hall of Fame? Then he's like the only guy in the class.
I don't know. And honestly,
or is that like he got left behind and had to everybody else graduated. He had to stay back.
Oh, wait a minute. We forgot about Mick. Yeah. But here's my thing though, is honestly, I don't remember him being in Memphis. I don't.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, was he there for long or what?
Man, it seemed like it was forever for me because I hated that time period. It seemed like it lasted forever.
What year was that?
Man, that would have been like, when was that? Like, somewhere in the 85, 6, not even 85, but like 86, 7, 8 era, somewhere in that zone. Something like that. But he was here during a time when we had guys like, Gorgeous Gary Young.
As Cactus Jack.
Yeah, but he was Cactus Jack. He wasn't Mick Foley and stuff like that. And of course, heck, I don't even know if you can even, find any of his matches or anything on YouTube. I think he was a part of the stud stable with like Bruno and Robert Fuller and all those guys and stuff like that. So of course, yeah, he didn't never do anything that stood out or was memorable or anything like that during his time here. But it was one of
the no crazy bumps here.
I think he was doing that kind of stuff because he tells a story of like, him doing that stuff and Robert Fuller telling him, not to be wasting those bumps and win Arkansas or something like that,
Yeah.
But the thing about like, say a guy like a Mick Foley, and this is because a lot of times people give us grief about the Hall of Fame, and it's like somebody will complain about us putting Mick Foley in there, but then they'll want us to put like Freezer Thompson or Keith Eric or Rough and Ready,
Rough and Ready.
But the thing about it is,
hold on, real quick. Who was Rough and Ready? I still don't even know that.
They was kind of before my time as far as like being in the back and knowing the guys.
Yeah.
So I really don't know what their actual names was and who they were.
Did they do anything after that?
Hung on the bathroom and gas stations. Oh wait, that's never mind. Sorry, yeah, my bad.
What, like in the wrestling business?
That's a condom, Jimmy.
Oh my bad.
I think they might have went to WCW and became the Ding Dongs. I'm not sure. Nah, I don't think that they ever did anything else wrestling wise.
That's crazy. We got to figure that out, man. None of us know this. I feel so bad for my podcast right now. Does anybody know who Rough and Ready were, and can we get them on the show if possible?
Yeah, that's a great
so back to Mick, man.
Man, I was going to say because you're really starting to run out of guests if you're wanting to try to find Rough and Ready and get them on the show.
Oh, I guarantee you, if I had Rough and Ready on here, it would.
Could we get Boss Winters with them?
Well, I know you can get Boss Winters. He's easy to find. He's around. And heck, he might know where Rough and Ready is.
Well, then there we go. We're going to do all that. We're going to get Rough and Ready on here. You heard it here first. So let's go back to Mick. I was
going to say about Mick Foley, real quick, kind of like an explanation on that because people kind of give us grief about stuff. But in some cases, we look at it like, true, Mick Foley was a guy who didn't do anything of any kind of Hall of Fame status while he was here. He wasn't a standout guy. He wasn't involved in any major angles or feuds or whatever, but he was one of these guys that basically started in Memphis and went on to have a Hall of Fame wrestling career, and you kind of want to acknowledge that because then it just drives some awareness back to Memphis, and have people could become aware of things that happen in Memphis that they might not have, ever known about just from, hearing about Kurt Angle going in there or Mick Foley.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to interrupt you. Another person that, he did stuff here, and that was when he first started going, and I worked with him in Power Pro, the gold medal around his neck versus my gold hubcap. So that was a huge thing, and he always appreciated that.
I wrestled him in his first match. His first ever wrestling match was
really?
Against me on TV. Yeah, the Yellow Jacket deal.
The Yellow Jacket. He's wrestled everybody, hasn't he?
Man, just about, it seems like. But yeah,
and that Foley story before we move on to the next person.
Well, what I was going to say about Mick Foley, it's not even really any kind of story, but I've actually got a picture, and I can share it with you guys if y'all put any kind of pictures out. But that was, you said, what, April of 2018?
Yes, sir.
And my brother Brian, he died in July of 2018.
Yeah.
And so, he came to that show, and then I have this picture of me and Brian and my dad, Mick Foley, all just sitting there together, like downstairs of my dad's, bar and grill on Bill Street. And somebody took a picture, and we're all just sitting there, really it's me and Brian. You can tell from the picture, we're just sitting there kind of listening, and it's my dad, Mick, kind of talking and telling stories. But it's like this neat picture of all of us together. And, probably, because, shortly after that, I think that was after, it was maybe like February or so that Brian got into that big fight that year with Chase Stevens, and he was kind of, all banged up for a little while. And then he was, shortly after that, kind of recovering from that. And then shortly after that is when, he had, I guess, maybe that same year, like a couple of little stints where he, was in jail, and then that last time, he went in like maybe June or something, and that was it, he just never came back out. So, that having that picture is just, kind of cool on a couple of different, levels.
Very cool. Very cool. And yeah, send that to us. We'll post that.
All right.
My Mick Foley story is, I've told it before, but it's so funny though. When me and Jamie were up there, doing the nation thing, we got a free room, a free rent-a-car, plus the money, that we were guaranteed per night. And the boys knew that. The guys that were on contract, like him, they knew that. And they didn't have free rooms or whatever. So, a lot of them would be like, hey, can we room up with you? We'd be like, yeah. So one night it was him, and he was doing the Mankind gimmick. And we left the building, and he left in his Mankind outfit. And we got to the room, and me and Jamie took a shower and whatnot, and got in the bed, and he didn't take a shower, man. He kept his gimmick on, with the exception of the mask. He took the mask off, obviously, but he still had the rest of it on. I'm talking about knee braces, knee pads, and boots, and the upper body stuff and all that. And he just laid there in the bed and went to sleep, and we had to get up at like
Jimmy Valiant.
I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. We had to get up. It could have been earlier, but anyway, he just put a jumpsuit on over it and went to the airport like that. And I'm thinking, man, you know how sweaty your stuff gets, man, when you wrestle, because he had wrestled that night. And he just put a jumpsuit on over his gimmick and got on the plane like that the next morning. And I'm like, this nasty motherfucker.
Yeah, that is.
Well, he probably was thinking, hey, man, that's another, because he's so cheap, that's another way to not even have to pack a suitcase. You just wear both outfits at the same time.
I guess. But I love him, man. The last time I seen him was at Jerry Jarrett's funeral. We talked for a second. And I mean, obviously everybody says that he's a great guy and everything like that. But that was just, I was in my early 20s, and I was like blown away by that. I was like, this dude didn't even shower, and he just kept his Mankind gimmick on and went to the airport. So I bet when he got home, man, his knees were stinking bad, and probably other places too.
His knee pits.
Man, I was going to say, not to kind of stop the momentum of the Hall of Fame years, but you say that about Jerry Jarrett. So speaking of funerals, I just went to one just the other day. Sid Vicious' funeral.
Man, if I lived closer, I would have been there too. But yeah, tell us about that.
I know, and that's one of the things that I hate, because you just always assume that when any one of these guys dies, like, everybody will be there. Like all the guys that they worked with and was always around would be there. And just like with Jerry Jarrett's funeral, a lot of times it's just the timing, of like, where people's living or where they're at or at the time. Cause heck, like within Sid's case, I think he died on maybe like a Monday or a Tuesday, and then his funeral was on a Saturday. So it doesn't give you a whole lot of time for people to make plans or whatever. And then like with say Jerry Jarrett's funeral, a week before that is when my dad had a stroke, and he was still stuck down in Florida and couldn't travel. So just because of that circumstance, he wasn't able to go. So, it's just those kind of situations. But anyway, as far as this thing, myself and Downtown Bruno and Doug Gilbert, all three, rode over there together and went there together and all that.
That is a car ride right there.
Yeah.
Right. So we did that, and you know, I mean, we actually kind of didn't stay for the whole funeral. We just, you know, got there kind of early and did the visitation and that stuff, and you know, wasn't there too incredibly long, but it's just, you know, man, it's always a sad occasion, man, you know, just having to go to one of the boys' funerals and everything like that. And man, Sid was one of these guys that, I mean, shit, I probably hadn't seen or talked to in a really long time, but man, Sid was always really cool with me. I mean, I could just call Sid out of the blue, and you know, I'm nobody, and you know, we'd shoot the shit, and he wouldn't never just cut me off or whatever. I mean, like, we could just, you know, talk about whatever. You know, he was just always really down to earth and cool with me. And, you know, any story I would want to ask him about something, man, he would tell me. And I always liked Sid. I had a real good relationship with Sid. Man, I actually got to referee. Man, you know, you talk about, like, you know, just cool things to do. Man, I actually refereed Sid Vicious versus The Undertaker in the Mid-South Coliseum.
Wow.
How many people can say that, you know?
Not many. Yeah. That's awesome. Was it as Lord Humongous and
No, this was like, you know, 93, you know, when when all the WWF guys would come down.
That early.
I was just checking.
I mean,
you never know.
This was like I said, you know, 92, 93, somewhere in that zone or whatever. And so it
had to be 93. Had to be 93.
Yeah. So it was like, and man, just to, you know, how, put this in perspective, how crazy this is. So, you know, this is, you know, especially now, like with the music, you know, everybody's got, you know, people's music on the laptop to where, I mean, I can't tell you, you know, because, you know, I used to do the music for everybody. I can't tell you how many times, you know, somebody would come up to me and be like, hey, you got such and such song? And I'd be like, no, like, why would I have that song, you know? And then, like, you know, half the guys would give you their music on a cassette tape that would be covered in baby oil, so it wouldn't play, or the tape would be all out everywhere. You'd have to try to, you know, wind it back up or something.
Or you gotta, hey, fast forward to this part.
Exactly, and you had no way to listen to it other than, like, you know, put in, you know, and listen, you know, so it didn't come out of the speakers for everybody or something, or so and like I said, and that was just like on the dawning of, like, you know, DVD. I mean, like CDs and stuff like that.
That's so funny, man, because I remember, like, back in the day, man, I was the worst about losing my tape, or the person that I gave my tape to didn't give it to me. So the next night I wouldn't have anything. Then I'd be like, hey, has anybody got music? Or I'd ask the music guy like you, I'd be like, hey, do you got anything for us? Do you have this song?
I did used to keep like a little stash with me of, like, some extra stuff just in case or whatever. But like, you know, nowadays somebody could come up and be like, oh, hey man, can you play with it? And they can just go on YouTube or wherever and you grab anything you could ever imagine and pull it up. But back then, you know, people would ask you if you would have something and be like, no, like, why would I have that or something, you know?
These young guys don't know, man, the escapades with keeping up with your music was hard.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I mean, you probably remember, like, say at the Coliseum, for instance, you know, we finally had rigged it up to where, you know, like, you know, that one main door that you would, you know, you're in the back, and then there's just a little door, and you walk out that. Now you're kind of in the arena, and you're walking to the ring, and like right there, we would have a little table set up where we could play the guys' music and everything. Right. But prior to that, man, I used to have to do this every Monday night where they played the music at the very top of the Coliseum. There was like a little gimmick box up there with like this old guy set, and he would play everybody's music, and so I would have to, one by one, you know, if I couldn't round them all up at one time, I'd have to walk up, you know, all those stairs all the way up there and give that guy the music, then come all the way back down and go find somebody else's music, go all the way back up. You know, it was just, that was the exercise right there.
That's why you couldn't gain no weight, man. You had to get the bumblebee suit.
I know. But anyway, I was just going to say, like, man, it's one thing to just think about, you know, hell, I don't know, you know, Billy Travis, you know, making towns and carrying his music on a cassette tape or something like that. But I remember specifically, like, one of the first times, you know, Undertaker came in, him and Paul Bearer both. And of course, like, look, I don't have Undertaker's music, you know? And so I go in the back and I go up to him. Right. So I go up to him like, man, y'all having music, and Paul Byrd pulls out a cassette tape with the Undertaker's music on it. Undertaker's music on a cassette tape, you know.
No shit. That's being prepared. Then back in them days, that's being prepared.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think even the Undertaker like having to, you know, carry his music around.
It's awesome to think about, though, because that's really funny, because you never think of that. Let me ask you something, because obviously we're talking about cassette tapes. In the CD era, you know what was really bad for me is I would have them in these carrying cases, and I'd pull them out, and I would stick it in. It would be my favorite song, and it would be like, tit, 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 tit. Did you ever have issues with CD skipping?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
It's just like, you know, because guys got it in their bag and it's like just stuck
it's all
in
scratched
there.
up.
I remember the very first time I kind of finally came of age where I was going to get to start kind of doing stuff with the wrestling company. You know, my dad was going to, you know, there's really nothing else for me to do, you know, at that age. And, you know, I don't know, I was probably 17, 18 or whatever. So this is when they had moved from the Coliseum to the Pipkin building.
Yeah. Okay.
And they didn't have anybody to play the music. So he was going to like, okay, hey, you know, I can come and be the guy who plays the music. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I show up that first Monday night and I'm just there and he's like, okay, well, where's your, you know, your cassette player, your regular? I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking y'all are this big wrestling company. Y'all are going to have that. I'm just here to push the buttons. And I said, I don't know. I didn't have anything. He said, well, what was you going to do? Shove the tapes up your ass and whistle out your nose? And I was like, no.
That's funny.
Yeah. So then I had to leave and, you know, drive all the way over to his house, you know, and, you know, that's when he was still married to Paula, and he had told Paula, hey, where he had a cassette, you know, like a tape player at, and for me to like run over his house to get that and come back and, you know, and then hook it up to like one of those, you know, little table gimmicks, you know, then hook it up to the speakers and stuff. But it was just like, you know, the people just think, man, these wrestling companies are, especially like, you know, Memphis at the time, it's like so big time and elaborate. If they just really knew the behind the scenes, how, you know, pieced together this stuff is sometimes, you know.
And hectic, right? All right, so
man. And I might have told this story before, I don't know, but just real quick, thinking of that before we get back on that stuff. But I remember like one Monday night, Randy had booked a casket match, you know, and I don't even remember who was involved in it. It was a casket match. So we get down to the Coliseum and I'm like, okay, well, man, where's the casket? And he's like, I don't know. I was like, man, so you booked the casket match and we don't have a casket? Like, what are we going to do for a casket? Yeah. So, man, I just started, you know, walking around the Coliseum, just, you know, and the back stuff, you know, all them upper levels. I'm walking around. And I finally saw like just like, you know, one of those 7 or 8 foot long, like just an abandoned deep freeze, you know, like have people would have in their garage, like just one of those, like one of those deep freezers, you know, with the lid that opens and closes. It looks just like a fucking casket, you know?
Yeah.
And so I found that, and then I found like one of those flatbed dollies, you know, with the handle on it. So we put that on the dolly, and then I got some of the black curtain that they used to have there, and we wrapped the thing with that so it would be black. And just on the fly made a casket out of an abandoned deep freeze.
Well, that's where most serial killers put their victims, is in a deep freeze, so it works.
Yeah, that or according to Norm Macdonald, in a shallow grave.
Yeah. Hilarious. God, we did piece shit together back then.
Oh,
all right,
man.
So let's move on. February 6th, 2021. Burt Prentice, introduced by you, Kevin Lawler, and Randy Hales, inducted by your dad, Jerry Lawler.
Okay.
Man, and that was one of these things where, like, man, I mean, shit, who knew that Burt was going to die like later that year? So I'm so glad that we was able to do that. And that was one of these things where, you know, I just had the idea, you know, Burt would do some of these, you know, random shows from time to time and, you know, bring my dad in or whatever. And I remember when I called and told Burt, like, hey, man, I've got something that I'd like to do that I think could be just like an extra bonus for your show that might, you know, draw some people or whatever. And you know, Burt got
emotional. So this was at a
show.
This was at a show of his?
Yeah, it was at one of Burt's shows at the Omen Arena in Jackson.
Okay.
We're just, you know, in the middle of the show, intermission or something. We just did this segment where inducted Byrd. I mean, he brought a bunch of his family there, and I mean, you could tell that, and Bert, he's a worker and all this kind of stuff, and all that. But you could tell that I think that
one of the best.
Oh yeah. And I think one of the things were exactly. And I think it was one of the things where you could just tell that Bert was generally, honored to be a part of it and touched, and the fact that my dad, was there and could induct him, and just made it all that much more special and real for Bert. And then him passing later that year. So it's like, man, I'm so glad that we was able to actually do that, because there's so many guys that's passed away that, that we didn't get to put in while they were still alive. And you just kind of hate that, the fans didn't get that moment, and they didn't get that moment. So I'm just, man, so glad that it worked out where we was able to get Bert in there while he was still alive.
Yeah, for sure. And I've told my Bert story, my favorite Bert story. I've got more, but I'm not going to go into that. But here's the one thing I want to ask, man, because a lot of people like that got in later than me, they were Bert was their passageway to the next level. And he made them believe that, go do security for WCW, whatever. When I met Bert was a manager. Me and Jamie had just come back from Mexico, and he was the manager of the Eliminator. So it was a different relationship that I had with Bert as opposed to some of the guys that got in after me. And also I noticed this, man, your dad loved Bert. Why did he love Bert so much? Do you know?
Well, I mean, I think.
Is it stooge status? And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. I want everybody to hear that. But is that what it is?
Well, I mean, part of it is stooge status, but I think he had a genuine love and respect for Bert, probably just because with my dad being who he is, and Bert being so there's those guys, kiss my dad's ass and hand him stuff on a silver platter, and bend over backwards and go above and beyond for him, and so of course
he appreciates it.
Yeah, he appreciates it, and Bert was always, whatever the money was he was supposed to do. I mean, Bert was just, I guess, one of these guys that he knew how Bert was. He knew that most people probably couldn't trust Bert, but he could. He could trust Bert. That Bert wasn't going to screw him over and this, that, and the other. So, but I mean, they had a real good relationship, man. Bert's another one of them guys.
And that's a cool little era of my life, was working for Bert. And your dad would always be on his shows, and I'd always get to work with your dad. And I think that it was, I mean, not that your dad's never liked working with me. We worked in Memphis, but on Bert's shows, a lot of times they put me with him in the main event and stuff. And I think he gathered a new respect for me, your dad, not Bert, or maybe both of them, I don't know. But because we had really good matches, man. Your dad loves it when he pulls that strap and he punches you and you fucking do 3 backflips over the top rope and fall to the floor. He loves that, you bump for him and all that kind of stuff, man. He loves that. He used to love working with me.
That's why he loves guys like Reggie. It's like, Reggie, Reggie's Reggie, but Reggie will go out there and man, he'll make my dad look like $1 million, and
he'll do heads, shoulders, knees and toes before. Yeah,
he'll do jumping jacks and he'll do push-ups, but then he can only do so much because his hemorrhoids are acted up and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
The legends of Memphis Wrestling return to Jackson Saturday, September 21st at the Picture Perfect Event Center. It will be a night to remember, featuring the stars you watched every Saturday morning on TV. Be there for the Fan Fest meet and greet at 3:30 and the official Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame induction ceremony at 7 p.m. featuring Jerry the King Lawler, Superstar Bill Dundee, the Boogie Woogie Man, Handsome Jimmy Valiant, Dangerous Doug Gilbert, Wildfire Tommy Rich, the Rock and Roll Express, PG-13, Downtown Bruno, the Birdman Coco Beware, Dr. Tom Pritchard, the Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony, Nightmare Danny Davis, Terry Golden, Sir Mo, The Spellbinder, Tony Falk, Carl Fergie, Jerry Calhoun, Michael St. John, and more. Plus a special reunion of the stars from TV5 Power Pro Wrestling and KAW. The Legends of Memphis Wrestling return to Jackson Saturday, September 21st at the Picture Perfect Event Center. Sponsored by Budweiser, Pro Shingle, Thomas Media, Slide and Ride Rodeo, and WBBJ TV. Tickets are on sale now. Go to Eventbrite and search Official Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame.
September 18th, 2021. We got a little class here. I'm not sure where this happened. You might know, Kevin. Kurt Angle, Scott Steiner, Tommy Rich, Tony Falk, Reggie B, who we just talked about, in downtown Bruno.
Yep. Yeah, that was one of these situations where, man, it was crazy. That originally was it was at Fitzgerald's Casino. It was originally like a Burt Prentice show. Burt somehow, I guess actually my dad, got, he knew the people and he got the show and then just, handed it over to Burt to basically do all the legwork and my dad get all the money and all the credit for it. And, so that was one of these deals where it was basically, Burt was going to do the show and they were like 3 weeks out from the show and Burt had died, and now all of a sudden it's like the show's just kind of in limbo. So they came to me to kind of just, pick up the reins and take it over and do it. So really, I mean, I basically had like 3 weeks to promote the show. Like there really was nothing even out on the show yet. And it just kind of dawned on me. It's like, man, like, who were some of the guys that we were going to have at this show? I mean, because at that show we also had, man, like, Demolition was coming, and Arn Anderson, and Sluger, and Sergeant Slaughter, and Ricky Steamboat. You had all these guys that had no connection to Memphis, but on paper it was like, hey, this looks like something out of the ordinary that you never see around here. It was kind of cool. Yeah. You'd be this meet and greet with all these guys, and then we had Thunder Rosa there, and just a bunch of people, and I just happened to I don't know, just to kind of like notice like some of the people that was going to be there. I was thinking, man, shit, Scott Steiner started in Memphis. Kurt Angle started in Memphis. Of course, Tommy's going to be there, Bruno, Reggie, Tony Falk, those guys. And I said, man, shit, we should take advantage of these guys being here that, we can't afford to, fly them in and pay for them any other time. So, man, this is a casino deal. They're paying for everything. Let's take advantage of it and do a Hall of Fame ceremony and put all these guys in. And, so we was able to kind of use that as a way to, part of the promotion, that, hey, we're doing a Hall of Fame ceremony, putting this class in. And that was a good class right there. And, typical kind of fashion thing, we had it all set up, and you keep in mind, the casino's like way out in the middle of nowhere. So it's not like, somebody, is running late like they was, and they fly in and then they, you're at the Coliseum or something right down the street from the airport. It's like, of course, Kurt Angle's getting there, late, whenever, and it's already way away from everything. But instead of him just, flying in, getting in the car, coming straight to the building, he's got to go find a gym somewhere and go work out, and all this kind of stuff. And we're like in the middle of this whole show and everything. So I had it timed out just perfect. We were like putting everybody else in, trying to kill time, trying to stall, and we had it worked out to where, like, man, like, I had somebody pick Kurt up and bring him, and he like got there just in time, sneaking around through the back, hit his music. He comes out, and straight to the ring and do his Hall of Fame thing and stuff like that, So, again, sometimes it's just stuff that's happening that the people don't even know is happening that makes it part of the show, Yeah. But yeah. So that was a neat class, and that was really like the last real Hall of Fame thing that we had got to do. And like I mentioned before, originally had a show set up 2 years ago that was going to kind of be like a Brian Criswell memorial show, and same thing, was going to do a Hall of Fame ceremony with that and have you guys, Rock and Roll, Danny, Tom, White Boy, the majority of all the people that's going in on this one was going to be at that one. And then it just fell through, at the last minute, like it happens a lot of times in wrestling. Like the guy who was going to put up all the money, all of a sudden realizes that he don't have that money. He don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Happens all the time. So we've been kind of in limbo for a couple of years until until this situation came about. And I don't think we have to worry about the money on this situation. I think everything's good.
Yeah, we're good. All right, so Kurt Angle, I mean, me and him wrestled at Power Pro when he first got in for a long time, man. His gold medal around his neck against my gold hubcap. I mean, people ask me this all the time. Did you know this person was going to be good? There's a lot of them that I say, I really had no idea. I worked CM Punk. I had Batista with me sometimes. And like some of those guys, I'm just like, no, I had no idea, man. I mean, they actually, a lot of them were the shits. And I'm not talking about just those people that I just mentioned, but other ones that went on to do other things. But Kurt,
Kurt was one of those guys that he was so limited when he came in that they told me, they said, all right, here, look, this is all you can do. This is the whole match. They wanted us to lock up, me give him an arm drag, and then me celebrate like, hey, I got one over on the Olympic guy, and I turn around and he gives me a belly to belly, and then that's it, because that's all he could do. Like, he couldn't have an actual match, you know?
Yeah.
So it had to be just like so quick. But I don't know if you really remember this, but man, you know, Kurt's demeanor and personality in the back was like he just came across like, man, like he just didn't give a shit, like he didn't really want to be there, like he didn't, you know, just, you know, I don't think he had got the bug yet, you know, being in Power Pro. You know, it just hadn't hit him yet, you know, and he hadn't came into his own yet. He wasn't really the Olympic guy. He was just this guy that was here that just hadn't found himself yet, and you could just tell he just didn't care. And I remember making, and the crazy thing, like we all lived in the same apartments, like me, Kurt Angle, Sean Stasiak, fucking Baldo, Crash Holly, like we all lived in the same apartments. Like I could, from where my apartment was, I could, you know, look out the window and see Kurt coming and going on Mondays and Tuesdays when he'd leave to go to Raw and come back and stuff. Sometimes we'd wave, hey, you know, and stuff like that. So we were all kind of like right there together. But I was gonna say, just like trying to break Kurt in one time, like we had to go make some town, and I was in the car with him. I don't know who else, and it was like we stopped at the gas station. He goes in and do stuff. So I do the thing where the car's turned off, so I crank the heat all the way up, crank the volume of the radio all the way up. So as soon as he gets in and turns on, the music is flashing, heat, and you could tell like he wasn't a fan of ribs, like that.
Right.
Wasn't something he was I mean, I don't think he really,
the culture,
felt like one of the boys. Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, so next, Scott Steiner, man. I like Scott, man. He and me and him talked about this at a convention one night when it was like a Sunday or something. So shit was dying down, and I left my booth and I was over there with him talking. And I told him, I said, "It's called a fucking Frankensteiner. It's not a Hurricanrana." I don't know. Either one of y'all chime in.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. Frankensteiner is the way to go. My opinion.
Oh yeah, because I mean, but at the same time, a Frankensteiner and Hurricanrana really are, apples and oranges. Because a Hurricanrana, like you kind of spin off to the side, and the guy flips. The Frankensteiner, you just jump up, hit the guy, and go, and he goes head first, and damn near kills himself.
It's not different.
I mean, are you talking about like that one guy's little and then it's Scott Steiner doing it? Is that kind of what you mean by different?
Well, yeah, I'm talking about like when Scott does it, because it's like he shoots you off, he jumps up, and he hooks you, and he just does a backflip, and you come down. A Hurricanrana is like, let's say however you attach it, but you don't just do a backflip. You kind of spin off to the side, and the other guy flips off and lands on his back or something. The Frankensteiner, he just does a backflip, and you do like a fucking head dive, into the mat.
No, I don't agree with that. I'm just gonna say that I don't agree with that, because yes, I agree with what you're saying about like how someone takes the bump, but it all involves.
But even how he takes the bump, even him applying it, and what he does, like say Rey Mysterio doing Hurricanrana, he jumps on your shoulders, he spins off to the side, and then you take the bump. Scott don't flip off to the side. He just
Ray usually like jumps up and does like almost an inverted victory roll. Jump up, stand there, kind of like Ricky Morton. Jumps up, stands there, whatever. But Scott jumped up, grabbed your head, and go. And it's a different bump, man. You got to be there, and you're running usually, and you've got to take those thighs, and you've got to. I never ever took it like straight on. I took it sideways, always. Your brother
is it a different move, or like? Because when I'm thinking of a hurricane, I'm thinking of something a lot of times guys do off the top rope where they'll jump off, they kind of leg scissor you, and they spin off, and you take a bump. That's a hurricane, right?
I mean, I don't know the technical terms or what everyone would think.
But
I think it's all the same thing.
Like, is that like a completely different name of a move, like the thing that Rey Mysterio does, where it's like a Frankensteiner, like you're saying, but he flips through, and you don't know how he don't hit his head on the mat and break his own neck, and then you flip over and he lands where he can
off
just
the top is
like
different though. Off the top is different, but
this he usually does off off the middle of the ropes, like a springboard, and then he just grabs you and he flips around, and you don't know how there's just the thinnest little.
I think
space.
Honestly, my opinion is, I mean, Scott Steiner, he shoots you into the ropes, or you're running at him, whatever, or you're standing there. He would jump up, grab your head, and flip you over, man. And I don't think it's a pile drive move. You got to take it sideways. And what I was supposed to say a minute ago was, Brian, your brother, got mad at me so bad, but it was honestly his fault, man. I did it off the top to him in Nashville, and oh man, if you could see it, it's on YouTube. And he took it like a fucking pile driver. And then he was like, man, you about killed me. I'm like, bro, you should have went sideways. I don't know what to tell you, man. So yeah, it's a hard bump to take, man, unless you know what you're doing. And I always felt like if somebody did it to me, that I'm grabbing their thighs, because the head goes, where the body carries it or whatever. And I'd grab the thighs, and whichever way they went, I'm tucking my head and I'm going, but I'm trying to go to the side.
Yeah, it's either way. I'd say, like, we had never seen anything even remotely close to that until the Frankensteiner came.
And it's called a Frankensteiner, not a Hurricanrana. All right, we're moving on here. Somebody say something about Wildfire Tommy Rich.
Tommy Rich, yeah, man. Tommy was one of these guys that, you would think that he should have been in, the Hall of Fame way before some of these other guys. But again, it's just, man, how the timing of this stuff works sometimes. But yeah, man, Tommy, man, he's just guy, who's been around forever, and
Tommy's
one of them
so
cool guys
good,
to have in the dressing room,
Yeah, he's so good, but he's such a dick, and I love him, but I hate him, and he taught me a lot, man. I rode around with him and Doug so much back in those days, and man, the thing where he came out from under the ring with the Austin Idol and the head shaving of your dad and all that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jimmy?
I think it's awesome. Funny. What the funny thing about, I agree. Tommy is great in the ring. He's very talented. But the funniest thing ever was I was doing a Middle Eastern gimmick in Nashville, and I'm standing at the steps, and I'm going out to go to the ring. And the music's playing, and I was prone to play the air guitar with my cane, okay? And Tommy and Doug are there, and Tommy's like smacking Doug. Doug's got his back to me, and he's like, Hey, Doug. Oh, Sheiky's playing the guitar. That will never leave my mind.
Yeah, Tommy's one of those guys who had like his own unique way of like bleeding. Like when he was getting color, he always wanted to do the thing where he's like, down on his knees selling, and he's just really, you could tell he's just really concentrating to try to make it start, squirting out or something like that.
That's awesome.
Kind of like the time when like Eddie Gilbert turned on him when they were the new Fabs and all that kind of stuff, and he did, the Tommy Rich.
Yeah, he'd bleed. I'll tell you one of my things about Tommy. Well, the story about me and him running through the woods, I've told that 100 times. Man, I remember this one night we were it was a spot show. I think it was like a Thursday or Friday night for USWA or whatever. And this motherfucker had me in the corner, and I'm laying down or whatever, and he's got his foot on my throat, you know, grabbing the ropes. He's choking me, and he's sweating so bad. His sweat was like dripping into my mouth. And I remember the saltiness of it, but then I got so drunk afterwards.
Oh man,
yeah.
I think the last one I told the story that had to do with Tommy Rich and Sid and all that, right? Did I tell that story?
I don't know.
No, I don't think.
Well, just in case somebody hadn't seen the part one or whatever. But I was gonna say they did a thing, and I swear it feels like I told the story. But we had to do
a part one 1,000 times, so you know.
Right. I'm trying to get the numbers up. But anyway, they had us do a match one Monday night where it was me and Frank Morrell team up against Tommy Rich, as like the referees are just tired of Tommy been just giving us hell for week after week after week. So it was going to be, you know, to make it even, you know, Tommy had to be blindfolded and me and Frank, you know, as a team against Tommy. And so, you know, Tommy does a thing where he, of course, peeks and he sees and he attacks me and shoots me off and gives me a clothesline. And I was going to do the spin and flip bump, but I didn't know that Tommy does the kind of clothesline when he comes down, you know, so if you try to flip and he's coming down,
he's driving you down.
Screw up. So I just remember me thinking, oh man, I'm gonna take this cool flip and bump, and I do it, and he comes down, and then I land, and it's like, man, my shoulder feels all dislocated and screwed up, and I was like, oh man, looked at my shoulder. And then it was like either like the next week or 2 weeks later, I was refereeing a match with Sid, and he gave me a choke slam, and I remember landing, and it was like, hey, wait a minute, my shoulder is like not my shoulder back in place. So it's like for like a couple of weeks or however long it was, man, my shoulder was bothering me from the Tommy bump, and then Sid gave me the choke slam, and when I landed, it like knocked my shoulder back in place. Like, hey,
straightened it out.
Right.
That's awesome. I don't remember that story, but you might have told it. Yeah, I don't know.
For somebody just feels like I was telling it, but who knows?
Yeah.
But so Wolfie, like, you know, your opinion, like you look at, say, this class or even the class that's going in, you know, here later this month, man, what do you think about some of these guys as far as like their legitimacy, you know, going into the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame and their contributions, you know, or just the mark that they left on their time in Memphis?
So the ones we're talking about right now, is that what you're asking?
Let's stick with the 2020. Yeah, let's say this the Kurt Angle, Scott Steiner class. Let's just stick with that class first, and then go to the.
I mean, because Kurt was not a USWA guy; he was a Power Pro guy. Scott obviously was a Memphis guy, so that's two different things right there. But
Scott was another one of these guys who didn't do anything. He did no standout stuff when he was in Memphis. His time, I'd say probably Scott's probably most famous thing that you can think of in Memphis is when my dad won the belt from Kurt Hennig. Scott's one of the guys holding him up. You know,
but he got seasoned in Memphis.
Let me say this. For Scott, honestly, as a kid growing up. And we just talked about it. The thing that I remember the most was seeing him do the Frankensteiner. I mean, dude, that move was like, what the?
And like that tilt-a-whirl slam, the tilt-a-whirl slam thing.
Yeah. Oh, that was crazy looking. The tilt-a-whirl slam he would do would almost look like it would break his own neck.
Or the thing where it looks like he's about to give you a pedigree, and then he just flips you up in the air and slams you down, kind of thing.
Right.
Was he doing that in Memphis though?
No, I don't think he did.
Yeah, I don't think
so. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. The Frankensteiner, I know for sure he did it on Memphis TV, and I'll never forget, man. I told my buddy, man, I had one wrestling buddy, man. His name was Ernest Dickey, and then he changed to Islam, and I can't remember what his name is now, but we still talk sometimes. But anyway. I had one wrestling buddy, man. Like back then, it wasn't cool to be a wrestling fan. And we saw that move, man, and we were like, holy fuck, that was awesome. And that's why I say it's not a Hurricanrana, it's a Frankensteiner. And I'd like to move on. Let's go to the next person.
Hey, let me just throw one quick little Scott Steiner.
Would you shut up.
Story. Man, you told me you wanted me to kind of like take charge and ask questions and tell stuff.
Go ahead.
I remember, whatever year that was. I remember being a kid sitting on the front row Monday night watching Scott Steiner versus Scotty the Body, who was, Raven, Scotty Flamingo when he first started. Scotty the Body. And I remember them doing, I guess this was the finish. But this is the finish to the match. It's Scott Steiner versus Scotty the Body. Scotty the Body shoots Scott to the corner, and he's like going to do like the Dundee, climb up, turn around, flying press kind of thing. But I guess he had never done it before. So Scott's like runs to the corner, gets whipped into the corner, runs to the corner, has to like stop, climb it up. And of course, Scotty the Body knows that's the finish. So he's literally just standing there with his arms out like he's waiting for you to hand him a package. He's just got his hands, his arms just sitting like they just stand there waiting. As Scott, climbs up, turns around, and then dives off with the press. And he's already just standing there with his arms just perfectly waiting for this press, And then 1, 2, 3. I think that's when somebody was asking me recently, like, when did I finally like get smartened up and realize that, wrestling was where I think that match is when I realized it was like,
damn, that fucked up. All right. So I'm not going to say the next guy's name. I'm just going to say this, and you're both going to know it. And I want you to,
I already know what you're going to say.
Huh? Want me to, huh?
No. Yeah, I was going to say Samana, huh? You got to say Samana, huh?
It's a shoot, Pally.
That's the shoot, Pally.
Tony Falk.
But what do you do when you say Samana, huh? Like what goes along with Samana, huh?
You got to fucking jab your thumb into the throat, man.
No, that's not you. That's when you're asking the people. You show them the thumb. You're something, huh? Yeah. Then you give it. Then you give it to the
exactly. I mean, that's what I said. It's so.
And
funny.
I literally had to just do that while I'm sitting here explaining it. I just had to just do it like an air guitar, an air Samana, huh?
It is so funny because I can remember Brian doing that and just all of us doing that, man. Just the want me to. Tony Falk is a classic, man. He's a classic.
Love him.
Yeah. And again, Tony Falk's one of these guys who, didn't do anything in Memphis. But he was just around forever, and he all right, name one Tony Falk feud, one Tony Falk angle, one Tony Falk moment, that stands out in Memphis.
No, but he made them all look good. That's what I
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like he's like people are in there for different, just different levels, different reasons and stuff like that. He definitely belongs. Right. Yeah, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, hey, he's not, he's not like on Eddie Gilbert kind of Hall of Fame level.
No. He didn't win titles. He didn't do this or that, but Tony Falk is a Memphis legend, man. He just
exactly. He was the legend, Tony Falk. Along with Eric's driver Tony and Boy Tony.
Yeah,
he was like the three faces of Foley.
It's kind of like LT. LT's great. I don't know if you've ever worked with him, but I have. But LT's great, man.
I'm a big fan of LT's. I like his work. I like him personally. He's been always on my list of guys that I've wanted to use if I could ever get to run in regularly consistent shows. He was on my list of guys that I want to use.
I'd totally use it, man. But Tony was just
both of them will be there. They'll both be here on the 21st. LT and Tony Falk will be there.
That's awesome.
In his house. What was he? Two Falk for sure or something like that?
Yeah, two Falk for sure.
Yo, peoples, this is Two Falk for sure, and you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Yo, this is Two Falk for sure.
All right, let's move on to the next one. We got two more. He was the man that took most of our payoffs. Every time we got him, Reggie B. Fine.
Did he take any of your payoffs, Kevin?
He took my payoff 100.
He never took any of mine because he never took any of mine.
Oh,
a real funny Reggie story is this is like
let me tell you something, Kevin. I guarantee you took your payoff because you like them girls. I might have liked that white, but you like them girls.
Well, yeah, but he he had nothing to do with it. Like he wouldn't have gotten my payoff for that.
I'm just playing, man. We'll edit that out. Anyway,
he will find liking girls that's a vice.
Yeah. Anyway, I was gonna say a funny Reggie story. This was back like early '90s before you guys even came. When we would do, it was like when the Mid-South Fair would be over there at the fairgrounds, and they would be using the Coliseum for like rodeo or a tractor pull or some kind of something. So we couldn't run the Coliseum, like that week. So they would always, let us like have wrestling like 7 nights a week at the fair, and I just remember like and they had all the guys would be like in just like one of them old kind of like one of them trailers that you see sometimes like at a job site, when they're going to do construction, they just have like little mobile trailers. That's like what everybody dressed in, that they took, of course, because it was just so temporary. It wasn't hooked up to any kind of, plumbing, so they would always, one of these things would always have a little bathroom in it. And we would always tell everybody, don't nobody use the bathroom because they don't have, can't flush it. I don't know water. And of course, every night Reggie would go in there and piss, and the thing, you couldn't flush it. And it would just be, the whole 7 nights that you're there, you had to smell this just rotten piss. But anyway, I remember, so Reggie's got like a ball cap on. He's there, and my dad's getting on him like, Reggie, somebody said that you was doing drugs or some drugs. I swear, I promise I wasn't doing. And he like, took his hat off for some reason, like a little pack of like cocaine and like fell out on the floor.
I remember that. Right. Love Reggie Beads.
Reggie.
So we're getting low on time. The next one is Downtown Bruno, and I love Downtown Bruno. He's been on here how many times, Jimmy?
He's been twice, and several other little clips.
He's hilarious, man. He's hilarious, and he's a good guy, and man.
Yeah, Bruno's one of these guys that, man, I talk to every week, probably a couple of times or so a week. We talk all the time about just whatever and stuff. So yeah, Bruno's a good guy. Been around for a long time and done it all, seen it all, done it all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you ever know what happened to Karen?
No, like man, somebody was just asking about her the other day, but I don't know. Even Bruno, I don't even know if she's even still alive or not. Like, I don't know what.
Really, he don't know either.
No. I mean, I guess she must have moved back to Scotland or wherever, but who knows? No, like no one's ever seen or heard anything.
That's
about
weird as fuck, man.
Uptown Karen.
Uptown Karen. Okay, so that rounds up that class, or rounds it out. Excuse me. And looking here, Kevin, you might know the exact number. I know there's a lot of people that got inducted in 2022. Do you know what the number is?
Gosh, I mean, offhand, I really don't, because I know that, we put at least, 4 people in every month, and there's 12 months. Yeah. So that would be 48. But heck, I know there was a couple of months, like I know December, October, or, there was a few months in there that we were putting like maybe 5 or even 6 guys in there. So heck, I mean, we could have probably exceeded 50 guys in there.
So how about this, guys? We'll do an unprecedented Live and in Color episode, a third of the same topic. If you guys want to do it, Kevin, do you want to come back next week and do part 3 of the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sure I could work that into my incredibly busy schedule, trying to get ready for this big event on September the 21st. But I guess I can squeeze in one more episode for Wolfie.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, man.
But just go ahead and be honest about it. Just admit it's because of, by popular demand, it's by request from the fans. Why you need me back on for a 3rd episode.
Of course. I mean, 100%. When are they going to induct you for your refereeing skills, man?
Well, I don't know why. I mean, nobody ever acknowledges or puts me over as being a referee, especially you. Every time I see you doing some kind of thing about it, I never get. I mean, seriously, if you can talk about Paul Neighbors and then not put me over as a referee, that's pretty bad.
Oh man, was this the first Ask Kevin?
I was always glad when you refereed my matches. Honestly, I mean, there wasn't a lot to choose from back then. You were good.
Yeah, because you know, for like, let's say, for instance, like when like a match with you guys and Rock Express, there's no way that Frank could constantly get up and down for the false finishes and stuff that y'all are having in those matches.
Yeah, and even though we had a great match, and man, what a good guy, but TD still was stuck being the referee sometimes. That was brutal. But at any rate, we're not.
I know. I think that was during the time when I had left and went to Philadelphia, and they didn't really have much options to choose from as far as guys and everything.
Could have been. Well, how about this too, man? We got some more questions for you, so we can wrap this episode up with Ask Kevin Anything, if you want to do that. Cool?
Yeah, that's fine. I can do that.
All right. Well, let's take a break, and we'll be right back with part 2 of Ask Kevin Lawler Anything.
DJ, hit the music. All right, we are back with Ask Kevin Lawler Anything. And first of all, guys, we learned some more about the Hall of Fame classes. And man, I mean, I felt like this was a solid episode. There's some really funny stuff, and we still haven't figured out who Rough and Ready is. So
yeah,
y'all out there, help us out, So thank you all so much for all your support in helping us find Rough and Ready. So Kevin, thank you again for offering up your willingness to answer these questions with the listeners. And, I know they appreciate it. So the first one is kind of, I'm going to bring two questions together because they make sense together. So anyway, he says, first off, it starts with Bobby Murray, and don't answer yet because there's more to it. He says, whose idea was it for you to become the Yellow Jacket? Okay. And then there's another part of this question. So it says, Quentin asks, have him talk about Yellow Jacket, how he came up with the idea. Where did he get the suit? Were the muscles blown up with air? Is it true that when you took a bump, you could hear the air coming out? Is that?
Well, you could hear the air coming out of the fans' mouths going, ooh, when I was
there you go. There you go.
But, but no, gosh, I mean, that's kind of a layered answer for that. But, and it's also reminds that actually just reminded me, something I wanted to tell you about what I heard on Randy's show the other day. He was talking about Chris Champion and him doing cowabunga and all that kind of stuff. And that's where I actually had got the idea for the muscles. Was I was in at TV one Saturday before I had even really started even doing anything. It was just coming and hanging around, and he was doing the cowabunga thing. And I saw him, I was standing there just talking to him while he was in the dressing room, and he was, taking his stuff off. And that's when I saw that he just had these little gimmick pads like on his thighs because his legs were so skinny, and those looked like, and there was like nothing elaborate to them. They looked like, like how like the cushions on your couch or something, like if underneath of that foam, like if you just shaved it and kind of formed a little bit of a flat on one side and just a little bit of a curve on the other. And that's kind of where I got the idea. Except his, I mean, they could easily move around because he would just lay them on his leg and then put the tights on, and so they could shift. And so actually the origin of how it even came about is I was just at my dad's one day and we were just talking about, maybe me doing something. And of course, I didn't have the size back then. And he just kind of maybe made a joke or made a reference like, hey, do you think you could get a suit made that, had muscles in it or something? And so I kind of had the idea from there. But the original idea was that I was going to be like a Power Ranger. I was going to be, like you had this suit and was going to be like a Power Ranger kind of guy. And, but anyway, just had the suit made. And, of course, back then there was like nobody that did that kind of stuff. And I just went searching around, and I just was like driving down the street one day, out in Fraser. And I saw like what do you call it? Like people who, make like alterations and different things like that or whatever. And it had a sign that said, makes, like one of a kind, unique stuff. And so I went in there and it was just like this family, a guy and his two sons that owned this thing. And of course they never did nothing like that. They just would do like typical, making clothes and alterations. And I had to describe to them what I was talking about doing. And the idea that I had, first of all, it had no air in it, but it was all just like spandex and leather and foam. And I would just describe to them what I was talking about. So they would measure me, and then I'd come back a few days later and they would have like a little bit of it done. I'd try that on, move around, see how it worked, and piece by piece. So it was because I just knew that, well, like certain body parts need to be a little more firm than others, so that's where we would kind of put some of the leather, to be a little harder and things like that. And I mean, mine was basically like the upper body and legs and stuff like that. But then it was like when you put it on, it just seemed like it just wasn't balanced. So I actually when I remember I guess maybe seeing this advertised like in a catalog or something. So I had went to like a Victoria's Secret or one of these places and bought one of those little pairs of panties with the ass cheeks on the back of them, so that the thing would have some ass cheeks to bounce it all out. It was just like a little, I wouldn't say panties, but it was just like a little thing like briefs, like underwear that had a little ass cheek gimmick on the back of it. And so that way I wouldn't just have like a flat ass with big muscled arms and legs.
You had the original BBL, man. That was the
exactly. The safe way to do it. And then I don't know, we just kind of pieced it together, and I just had a black and yellow outfit, and typical just show up at TV one day. I was just going to, do the jobs and stuff, and didn't really have a name. And Downtown Bruno was the one who actually said, "Hey, why don't you be the Yellow Jacket?" I was like, "Fine, we'll go with that." And so that's how it all happened.
Yeah, because I mean, the Yellow Jacket makes a great superhero name, and to be fair, man, I think like Shazam, the most recent Shazam movies, I know for a fact Ben Affleck's Batman costume, probably Henry Cavill's Superman.
Wasn't there a Yellow Jacket in like that one Ant-Man movie? Wasn't he like the Big Hill?
Yeah,
that movie? Yeah. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I think my dad might have just like sometimes when he would go places, I think he might have just one time brought me back just like a random gimmicky yellow, like a Mexican hood. And I think that was actually kind of a famous one, but like a yellow mask that had like a little black gimmick on the face and stuff. So I already just had like black and yellow and stuff like that. Just kind of went from there.
That's cool, man. I always thought the gimmick looked cool, man. Anyway, yeah.
Bill Dundee used to call me Pump 'em Up. He used to call me, hey, Pump 'em Up, because from like Hans and Franz. He always would joke and say I look like Hans and Franz.
That's funny. Oh, that's funny. Well, thank you for answering that question, and I appreciate the questions, guys. So the next one is from listener Wes Pruitt, and Wes asked this question. This is actually a pretty in-depth one, so just hang tight with me on this one. So it says, when you look back on your impact on the business, what do you want people to remember you as? So, and he kind of goes on, he says, also, as someone who uses art as an expression in the business, what are some things that you, Kevin, could bring to a company to improve them? So essentially, I guess what he's asking is what you want your legacy to be, and then what do you think you could offer a company if they wanted to hire you right now? So anyway, go for those.
Well, number one, I didn't know I had an impact on the business or a legacy. Either one.
Well, Wes thinks you do.
I might need to put him in charge of my fan club then.
There you go.
There has been a couple of things. I mean, back in like 2001, Jimmy Hart had brought me down to Florida for the XWF thing when they were trying to start this company that had, it had everybody. I mean, it had Hogan and Bobby Heenan and Sable, all these, everybody who wasn't on a contract somewhere was like at this company, we filmed a bunch of like pilot episodes at Universal Studios, and they basically brought me down there specifically to create characters and outfits and stuff. So I went down there and stayed for, I don't know, a few weeks or something like that. And just, would draw characters and outfits, for guys. And like one of the ones I remember doing, they had the, what's the guys called that was like the ECW ripoff of PG-13? Those guys.
Public Enemy.
Yeah, Public Enemy. That's right. I couldn't remember the names, but anyway, so they were going to be there, but I guess they couldn't use the Public Enemy name for some reason. They were going to call them like the South Philly Posse or something like that. And it was like, man, what can I make that kind of make them look even halfway kind of cool or dangerous? And I just remember like one of the logos I remember coming up with to put on there was, cause I was thinking, well, man, Philadelphia, they're famous for the big Liberty Bell, and it's got a crack in it, and anything with a crack in it, it's going to look kind of like hardcore or something like that, So I thought, man, we could put that on there, put the big crack in there, and that would kind of maybe make them look kind of cool and not kind of lame with that name and all that kind of stuff. But and I had designed a bunch of stuff for Hogan. You know, I was the one who wanted to incorporate black into his, you know, red and yellow, and they were, but then later on, you know, he started adding black to his red and yellow and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, I would probably say, I mean, if I was to bring anything, you know, to the table for a company, I'd say probably, I mean, just my artistic ability and just, just maybe my years of being around the business, because I got to, you know, come around at a time where, you know, could be under that learning tree of, you know, actually sitting and being in dressing rooms and talking with, you know, Jerry Jarrett and guys like Dutch and my dad and Eddie Gilbert and just a lot of those kind of guys, and along with, you know, some of the, you know, a little bit more modern kind of guys, you know, and just been around through different variations of, you know, the Memphis company and other companies and things like that. So, I mean, I would think that, you know, I have some experience and some knowledge of just being around through different variations and time frames of it that would help. So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you can't pay for experience. That's one thing people can't, you know, you can buy someone who has experience, but you can't pay for it yourself and get it, you know? So that's cool that you have that to offer, man. I think that's very valid. And I think a lot of companies could use that. So that's awesome. And so Wes has a little more to go here, and this is a good one. I want Wolfie in on this one too. I think maybe this should go back to the round table style. It says, finally, if you could create the Memphis Wrestling microphone Mount Rushmore, who would be on it? Meaning, who were the best on the microphone? Yeah, talkers.
Man, there's a lot, really. Austin Idol was really good. Handsome Jimmy was good. He, you know, when I think of people on the mic, it's for me, it's more of like get you pumped up, make you want to buy a ticket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, the Lawler, Dundee, Dutch.
Your partner.
Yeah, Jimmy was good.
I mean, Jimmy Hart was great on the mic back then.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, my brother was good on there.
Yep.
I mean, you know, Bill Dundee. I mean, so many really were so good at. I mean, if you know, in all actuality, if you think of the Saturday morning Memphis, the wrestling show, the in studio wrestling part was really like the worst part of it. I mean, because it was always about good job guy stuff, or even if it was major guys. I mean, they didn't go long; they just kind of, you know, ho-hummed around or whatever. But the meat and potatoes of that show was when they would show highlights from Monday night at the Coliseum, and really just the personalities and the promos and any kind of altercation that happened at the desk was really the strong point of the TV.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, because you were setting up you didn't have a month to set up for a pay-per-view or whatever. You had, you know, a couple days to set up for Monday, you know.
And in all actuality, I mean, somebody was just talking about this, literally just, I think yesterday I was talking to somebody about this, is that you really only had one day, because it's not like you even have social media. So you just had Saturday. There was nothing you could do on Sunday, nothing you could do on Monday to help push it. It was just Saturday, and that was it. Yeah,
that's true. Good point. But as far as narrowing it down, man, that'd be hard. I don't know, Kevin. It's called Ask Kevin Anything.
Yeah,
I know you said round tables. We've thrown it out there, so we'll let him chisel away at the four. There.
Yeah, tell us the four.
Man, gosh, I mean, the top four, I would have to probably say my dad. And I would say I would put Jimmy Hart on there, and probably Austin Idol. And I don't know. I would probably say Bill Dundee over, say, a Jimmy Valiant or, you know, one of those other kind of guys. But I'd have to say Dutch would probably be like the next guy in line after any of those kind of guys. But
runner up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, Dutch is so cool.
And maybe even a Jackie Fargo. You know, I mean, he you know, he was one of the kind of guys that was, anytime they brought him in for something, his promo was going to be, you know, designed to, you know, just really kind of, you know, fire you up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, when it came to firing up, Wolfie D wasn't bad at that, man. So.
Well, when it comes to firing up, you have to include Tommy Rich. You know,
yeah,
somebody said something about fired up.
Of course, somebody said something about it. You have to.
I mean, Eddie Gilbert.
Oh yeah, man, Eddie. I can't even believe that Eddie slipped my mind, but I'd have to probably. Heck, I'd almost probably have to put Eddie up there instead of Bill. Really.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's a good one. But Bill had that accent, man. Part of that, was the fire and the accent, and you put it together, and it just sounds. I want to listen to more of that, and that kind of stuff. But
it was good, but I don't know. Bill had a certain kind of a personality in a way that could just he could just sometimes kind of be all over the place or something, to where like Eddie could be more focused on to the point about whatever it was that he was talking about.
Yeah. Well, I know we've asked a lot here, but I think if, since we're doing one more episode, maybe Kevin, could we get you for one more Ask Kevin Anything?
Yeah, that's fine.
he's losing wind, Wolfie. But yeah, no, what I mean by that is there's enough questions. We don't have to cram them all in here. So I do have one more, and this will be a simple one if you don't mind. So Keenan Brown asked this question, and it's part of it's an easy answer, but we're going to eliminate the easy one. So he asks, besides the obvious one, who was your favorite Memphis wrestler?
Man, I mean, as a kid, man, I just, I loved, Bill and D. I loved, Austin Idol would probably have to be like my next favorite guy, because that was just, I always just thought Austin Idol was the coolest, and loved anytime he came in and stuff like that. But I think, and Jamie probably would feel the same way. I just think, kind of growing up around that time, my dad and Dundee was kind of like this yin and a yang kind of type thing. To me, it was like Dundee was almost like, almost on that same equivalent in a way. They just had some similarities to them and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I just was huge fan of those guys, and I mean, Eddie Gilbert was probably like one of my. I just always thought Eddie Gilbert had the coolest hair. I always wanted like my hair to be like Eddie Gilbert.
It is some cool hair.
I loved his hair. I thought he had the hair and his beard. I just thought he had a really cool look and stuff like that, and everything. But man, again, that's an even harder one to say, because man, I just it was just so many guys back then, man. The Fabs, all them, and this was just huge fan of all the major players back in the day.
Such a great era of wrestling, man. Really was. So, and it's so weird. I mean, it's surreal to be thinking of my dad, like I'm trying to think of my dad as one of the greatest of all time in my brain. And that just does not compute. So it would be, obviously you've lived your entire life with your dad being one of the GOATs. And, to me, it's crazy to think that for my dad, but again, for your dad, it's not crazy for you to think, but putting the thoughts of that process in my brain, it kind of makes it explode, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I guess in a way that's all or that's all you do. You kind of get used to it, but at the same time, oh man, you think it's cool. Because I remember when we lived in Hendersonville, and Brian was already in kindergarten. I wasn't even in school yet, so I was probably 3 or 4 years old. And I just remember like one Sunday, for some reason, Bill and D came over and with Jamie, and Brian was going to go off to Sunday school or something with them. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. Like Bill and D was coming over and Brian was getting to go somewhere with him, so it's like, here's my dad's Jerry Lawler, but I'm thinking, oh man, this Bill and D, wow, this Bill and D.
So you telling me that Jamie went to Sunday school?
Yeah.
Well, he probably maybe went one time and got kicked out, and that's probably why I only have one memory of Brian ever going with him to Sunday school.
I'm just that was the exact thing I started thinking of, Wolfie. So.
Yeah, I don't think it lasted long. I don't think it was many times.
I feel like the little meme with the little black kid like tilting his head, going, "So you're telling me?"
Right.
I can just see Jamie trying to look up the teacher's skirt or something like that. Mr. Dundee, your son can no longer do this. Yeah. That's all I got. Yeah.
Next week, we've all agreed we're going to come back one more time and do part 3 of the Hall of Fame and cover everything else leading up to the present. Kevin, if you don't mind, close us out, man. Hard sell for the September 21st first show.
Oh man, absolutely, man. Anybody with just with any kind of a range close around Memphis, Jackson, even Nashville, any of these places. man, I urge you to come, because I mean, this is like the biggest, Memphis related wrestling reunion that's, we've had in a long time or ever even had. That just includes, man, so many legendary guys, so many guys that hasn't been here in, 20, 25, 30 years. And just, based off of that, how long it's been since some of these guys have been around, I think this is probably the only time or last time that this entire collection and group of guys will ever be at the same place at the same time, ever again. So, man, if you want to experience a once in a lifetime event and experience, then make plans now for Saturday, September the 21st, Jackson, Tennessee. It starts at 3:30 in the afternoon with a huge meet and greet opportunity to, come and get autographs and take pictures with all these guys. And then at 7 p.m., the 2024 official Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame class induction ceremony will take place. It includes, Tom Pritchard, Sir Mo, Dirty White Boy, the Spellbinder, Rock and Roll Express, PG-13, Michael St. John. I mean, Terry Golden from Kick-Ass Wrestling. I mean, it's going to be great. At the Picture Perfect Event Center there on Highland Drive, I would just say, man, tickets are going fast, so man, you need to act fast and get with it.
Awesome. Don't think I could have said it any better myself. So be there the 21st, guys, and be here next week. And we're going to finish this Hall of Fame talk. And then after that, it's on to the Hall of Fame. So tune in again next week and we'll holla.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com. And to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
Hey, it's the Heat Miser Scotty Blaze. Now I'm inviting all of y'all to join me on my brand new podcast, Turning Up the Heat with the Heat Miser Scotty Blaze. So what are you waiting for? Come on over and join me. I'll be covering all the events of the day, global, national, pop culture, movies, gaming, whatever sounds interesting. But I'll also be playing some awesome skating shuffle music from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Anything that has a good beat, I'm going to be playing it. You can rest assured. Come on over, tuthradio.com. The podcast is on every major podcast platform. See you then.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
So that was another great episode. Hey, Wolfie, tell them where they can find you on social media.
Jimmy, they can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. I'm just kidding. They can find me on Facebook. My personal page is Warren Wolf, WLFE. I'm on Instagram at Warren Wolf 13.
You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Wolfie D. Here's the thing. Wolfie always has offers for his autographed photos. He has a selection of some awesome photos from throughout his career that he will autograph and personalize any way that you want him to. Just contact him either directly at his personal Facebook page or through any one of our other pages, and we'll make sure you get in contact directly with Wolfie. Get those photos, right, Wolfie?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there, to help with the podcast.
Folks, if you can't get out to a show to meet Wolfie D, there's nothing like that, especially for the fans of PG-13 and Wolfie D. And before we go, you can always find me, your host, Jimmy Street, at jamesrockstreet on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
And hey, Jimmy, before we go real quick, I just want to add in there, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate, first of all, the work you've done for this podcast. You have worked your butt off. Secondly, the people that are liking the page. Beyond that, even more, is the people that are listening, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and remember, guys, the podcast drops a new episode every Monday at noon, and our past episodes are streaming now on demand on all major podcast formats. Thanks again.
I got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap for your dome.
I got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap
for your dome.
And here we go. The original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth. Still livin' in color. Bum rush your mother, utilize a hubcap, unlike any other. Back in the day, I was NOD, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3. In case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D. Been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip hop. Been doing it like this since 92. Laid low for a while and you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or Vader. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. With my finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. I'm gonna wind it up, then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. I got a cap for your dome.
I got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.